back to another episode of Random Thoughts Some Useful. In part 2 of our conversation with Army combat veteran Brandon Keel, we continue diving deep into his powerful journey. In this episode, Brandon opens up about his insight and inspiration for anyone seeking hope through the hardest times. If you missed part 1, be sure to catch up. And now let's jump right back in.
You know, I went there with the intention of like being involved and trying to get some help and doing the stuff. And then I got there and it wasn't what I expected. And when I say that is there was a lot of, like, I'm Catholic, cool. But they were really pushing religion and Christianity on everybody in a way that I kind of was a little uncomfortable about. And it bothered me, mainly because growing up as a Christian or a Catholic, there's ways that I would talk to people about such things and not kind of make it, I don't know. There was a lot of people there that didn't like the way it was ran. I kind of didn't like some of the stuff I started realizing about it with the way they were making money and other little things that didn't feel right. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm sorry. So I just did what I was supposed to do, kind of, and then left. I did buck the system. I wasn't really ready to be there in a way.
We talked about that where you kind of got in trouble a couple times.
Yeah, no, I just basic stuff. I kind of got myself removed because I didn't think I needed to be there.
And I think where we left off is basically you had, you were going back for a possible job interview or opportunity with them, and then,
yeah.
And then that didn't really work out, but it led to better things. And so I really just wanted to really offer, if there's any, you know, my focus is definitely, you know, suicide awareness, mental health awareness, and empowering people, anything that we can do to give them skills to get through.
Okay. So the biggest and most important thing that we did there was you have to write your story. You have to write it down from when you're a kid all the way to now. You have to write about your traumas, right? And then you have to read it to everybody there.
Wow.
And like that, I get goosebumps, you know. It was really difficult for me to talk about some of the traumas that I went through.
Right.
Specifically, I like to talk to people about this thing about, I call it magic, right? And everybody knows what magic is. Everybody's heard about magic. You see a card trick and that's magic, right? It's not that something changed mystically and mysteriously. It's that you don't understand how something was done, and it's magic to you, right? If you look at the illusion photos, you know, that make your brain think it's different things, that is literally something glitching your brain, right? So when you take an idea or something that's in imaginary land, right? Imaginary numbers, imaginary this, blah, 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 in your imagination, and you take that out of the imagination and you write it down, you are now solidifying something that wasn't real into reality. You just put something down. That's why all throughout history is very important if you could read and write, right?
Yes.
You know, the Bible, not to preach, but the Bible talks about, you know, one of the first things that happens, God spoke and there was light, right? Using your voice to create and do things is important.
Yes.
So when I was there, I realized, like, one, I got to write about stuff, write it down, and then talk about it. And eventually what ends up happening is your trauma becomes your story that you're telling. It's not something that holds anything over you.
Okay, I like that.
And that's where I'm at now.
You're processing it all
in
a healthy place.
Well, I'll tell you the story about one of the more traumatic events that happened to me. And it's funny because I've told it so many times now that it's just, I mean, it still brings up those emotions and stuff. But I was laying down in the Humvee. We were sleeping, and it was me and Doc in the back. And there was only, I'm not Humvee, I'm sorry, in the Bradley. There was only 2 of us because we were kind of tight on personnel for all our missions around this time in Iraq. And I had all my gear off because it was hot. And I remember you're in and out of, you're kind of in that sleep state where you're sleeping, but you're not, you know what I mean? You're still conscious, but you're sleeping. When I felt it, and it was the explosion. And in my mind, all I remember, I was like, fuck, the Bradley turns on, we gotta go. And I wait, Bradley turns on. So I get up, put all my gear on, put my headphones on, and Sergeant Del Torre is letting us know, like, hey, we got to go respond to this unit that got blown up. National Guard unit, they don't have a medic. Idiots. But anyway, so we roll out there with our medic, because it was just me and Doc. We were on route security, so all we did was just park at, like, a main MSR route, like off the highway, you know? And just make sure people don't put bombs and stuff down. us in the back would just sleep. The other guys would monitor and shit, so we would just sleep unless we had to go do something. But anyways, so we're rolling up and we get there, and as we get there, I remember we're backing up, and me and Doc are ready, and like the back door wasn't even done down, and we were out of there. And when I got out of there on scene, there was 3 Humvees. One was blown to shit. And everybody was in chaos. Nobody knew what they were doing. Everybody was trying to help the guy wounded, and there was some other stuff going on. Nobody's pulling security. Nobody's paying attention to their surroundings. So me and Doc immediately try to gain command and control. Doc takes care of the guy that was really wounded. I'm trying to get their officers and people to go do what they're supposed to do and get the hell out of the way. Go pull security. You need to be watching these vectors. Easily another attack could have happened in the last, it took us 30 minutes to get there, And anyways, they're trying to stuff this dude in the back of the Humvee on a stretcher. And me and Doc finally pull him off once we got things secured. And we cut his pants off and then pulled out all our stuff we had. So the IED kind of came in the side right here, and he was in the back thing. So it hit and blew out just everything right here. It's like a flap, So once we got it open, we realized how bad it was. I used all the gauze I had in my CLS bag, and Doc used everything he could to just stuff the cavity and put pressure on it. And then we hauled him into the Humvee, and I'm not Humvee, I'm sorry, the Bradley. And once we got him into the back of Bradley, we just tried to apply pressure and get him to the fob as quick as possible. And we got him there, and he died a couple hours later, sadly. But because of that incident, 3 days later, my unit, my platoon, or my company, I think, rolled out to that same area, and we shut down a whole neighborhood. The whole neighborhood, either west or south, anyways, shut it down, shut the entrances and exits down, had people everywhere, and then specifically my squad went door to door to start searching houses, because we were going to see if we could find bomb stuff and this and that. And while we're searching houses, I'm getting ready to kick in a door. I kick it, and it's metal, so I'm like, oh, God, it sucks. And then our Doc, he was so excited. He was like, let me use the shotgun. We're like, okay, fine, breach the door, shotgun. Right as he's about to do it, we hear the gunfire go off, and we're all waiting, and we hear it over the radio, hey, we need you to come check out what just happened. So I roll up. I'm coming down the road like this. Here's a little neighborhood, right? Well, right here is red chem lights. So what we would do is when we would shut down roads like this, we would put 300 meters out green chem lights, 200 meters out blue chem lights, and 300 and then 100 red chem lights. At the 300 meter mark, we're flashing our lights, shooting lasers, doing everything we can to get cars' attention, like, hey, that we're here, turn around. By the time they get to the second row of chem lights, we're firing warning shots. If at this point they are still coming and they hit that third point, we shoot to disable the vehicle or shoot to kill. That's what happened. One of the Bradleys opened up, hit this vehicle, and then it kind of went into this road over here. When I came around the corner, it was chaos. The vehicle was here. The parents are out yelling and screaming. People are coming out of their houses. There's only like 5 or 6 of us on the ground at that point. So as they're all coming out of their houses yelling, the mom is running around screaming. I clear the area, and as I'm clearing the area, small child in the middle of the road dead. Probably 4 or 5, little girl. We secure that area, and there's another truck way over here, and I'm sitting there, and at this point the dad is now like harassing me, and I can understand why. But it's getting weird because the neighbors and the locals are getting pissed, and we're just trying to secure the situation. Ended up being another kid wounded, and he was a 12-year-old, so Sergeant Blog starts patching him up. He had a through and through, I think, which is where the round goes this way instead of this way, so it just went straight through. So we patched him up. And as I'm pulling security doing this, the dad finally grabs me, and I realize what he's trying to tell me. And he's pointing at the back of the other bongo truck. So I roll over there, and as I look at the back of the truck, there's another kid dead. His whole skull from here on gone. And I've yell out, we got another KIA over here. And at the time, we had been with, I don't know why I always remember this, but we had been attached to a PSYOP unit. I don't know if you ever heard of PSYOP, Psychological Operations Unit. So they had been attached to us and doing work with us for a while. And one of the girls came over who always had a camera, and she's like, I gotta take a picture. And I'm like, are you sure? It's pretty bad. She goes, I have to. Saw it. She's like, oh my God. Took a bunch of pictures and left. And then that's when Sergeant Bloggs said, hey, Keel, secure this kid. put him in this Humvee. You guys are going to run him to Camp Hope and try to get him help. So I grab up this kid, sit him in my lap. We're heading to Camp Hope, and I'm just trying to talk to him, right? He's conscious and knows what's going on, but obviously is in pain. And I can't imagine the suffering he was going through at that point after losing his 2 siblings. His mom was also shot, and now he's shot. And I remember being like, yo, hey, it's okay to cry, you know what I mean? And the dude, he looked at me and was like, I can't cry in front of a soldier. Broke my heart. Like, here this kid is, and he didn't want to cry in front of me after what he had just gone through, man. It was so nutty to experience, and we ended up getting there. I don't know if he survived. I never got a chance to find out at all. Yeah. But like, having to tell that story so many times, like, it still hurts, but it's still now just a story. It's not something that festers. When my ex-fiance and I met, she had a daughter that was right around the same age as that little girl that was dead. And it took a long time for me it took probably about 6 months for me to really open myself up to
being
vulnerable to the daughter, because it was like, man, like, I would suck to have to lose that.
Yeah.
And it still affects me now. I don't have kids. I'm not in a relationship really. So it was just rough. But it's nice to talk about it. Yeah. And it's funny too, because like, to me, there are funny parts to it. If I tell it to other combat veterans, I'll tell it a little different.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? Come say hi. Oh, he's chasing the squirrel. I see what's up. But yeah, no. So there's about 3 or 4 other incidences I was involved with in Iraq. The first one was funny because it was a car bomb that just blew up in front of me. About here to where those people are. Gosh. So actually, here, I have photos. Facebook, funny as much as I say I hate it, decided to go online about a couple months ago and see if I could find the FOB that I was at in Iraq, Camp Rustamaya. And there's a Facebook page of Camp Rustamaya. So I popped on there and I said, hey guys, I need, looking for some photos. Can anybody help me out? And this guy hit me up. I told him the date, I told him the time, I told him what happened. And here it is.
Oh man.
I won't show you him. There's a photo of him too, but it was pretty bad. So the guy, oh my bad. So the guy, weird story. The day before he showed up, we had been announcing for months all through. See, and I like talking about some of these stories too, because when I would tell my mom about some of the stuff we were doing, she's like, the news never told you about this. No. Nobody here had a clue what I did in Iraq. It was neat. So like the day before, or the months prior, we had taken over security of Baghdad. That's what my unit's job was. We were basically run security throughout Baghdad. And we were working with the Iraqi army, the new Iraqi army, because when we took Iraq, in 2003, we wiped everything out. So we were helping them build a new army and train Iraqi police officers. And I wasn't there that day, the first day we did it, but there was like 1,000 people that showed up. None of them speak English, you know what I mean? They all are fighting each other to get positions in lines because they all want a job because it paid good, and we get it, but it was like herding cats.
Yeah.
My roommate was there that day, and he...
my dad's told me the same kind of story.
Yep, it's just so rough. So they called it off the next day. That's when that car bomber blew up. He came around the corner. Like, my job was to open up, when I would work Viper Base, which is FOB security, they had car bombs happen, and the people on the gate weren't infantry and didn't know what to do, so they mandated that they have to be X amount of infantry on the front gate. So our unit then had to take over security for that. But no, he came in, he drove around the corner, and we made eye contact. It's funny because I had my saw, and I was sitting there. I was like, why is this guy not coming to me? He can't go in that way. And as I didn't even finish the thought, and he exploded. I think what he was probably doing is probably going after the people that were trying to be Iraqi police officers. The reason why I say that is we went on we had been doing snatch and grab missions for a while. We were tracking Ba'ath Party members, Ba'ath Party generals, Saddam's hardcores. And we would basically stage outside of the base, like right near the exit to the base, wait on a phone call because they were tracking his phone, and he would call his mom every Friday. That's their religious holiday. Their Fridays are like our Sundays. So he would call his mom, and we got to go one day. So we go, grab this guy out of his house. By the time we get back to the base, he's the wrong guy. The reason why that's crazy is the guy had the same first name, middle name, family name, tribe name, father's name. Like, there's a lot.
How did you even know it was the wrong one?
He told us. He wasn't the right guy. He looked different, you know.
okay.
He speaks English perfectly. Dude was an English teacher
Goodness
at a high
gracious.
school. So we get him to the base, and we're like, well, we're going to pull security on him all night. So who's going to volunteer? And I was like, whatever, I'll do it. So I had it from like 3 to 4 or something. So I wake up to go do my shift, and I walk up there, and the dude is wide awake. 2 Gatorades in his hand, plate of food, excited as hell to talk with me. And I'm like, dude, you're really excited? He's like, yes, why would I not be excited? He's like, I got to come to a base, and you guys fed me and have treated me well. I'd never had Gatorade. He was so excited because he had never had Gatorade, right? He was elated to talk to me and stuff. So I stayed up and talked to him, and I really got hardcore with it, though. I was like, yo, I really want to talk to you about, like, how do you guys feel as Iraqis about Americans coming over in your country and doing what's happening, right? Like, what is your opinion? Tell me what's up. And he's like, well, the problem we have here is when Saddam was in power, we had 1 thief. And now we have 1,000 thieves.
Oh, yeah.
And he was saying that if you,
That's
on your way to, let's say me and you were drinking, and you slipped and hurt yourself, right? On the way to the hospital to get you help, we might have an Iraqi police checkpoint, just to make sure we're not terrorists. Well, they're going to want a bribe. So we're going to have to pay them a little bit, and then the next stop, another. So on the way to the hospital, we have to bribe our way there a couple times probably. And then at the hospital, they might be like, well, you abused her. Well, what? No. Okay, well, you pay us money, right? So everybody doesn't like the Iraqi police because they're corrupt. I think that's why that guy was doing that.
Yeah.
I wish I have to still find it. Maybe my mom has it. But they gave me a report that the DOD put out. And I remember when I read it, to me, I remembered it as the first piece of real propaganda I had ever seen. Because it wasn't, in my opinion, it didn't match what I experienced, but
Right.
is what it is.
So, 2 things.
Yes.
I want to eventually talk about your perspective of the military now,
Sure.
and something you could say to a young person considering going in, or something like that, life choices, career choices, those kinds of things. But before that, we talked about how telling your story and making almost kind of an out of body experience, being able to play it like a movie, like you're watching it type thing, has helped you heal through it and process it and that kind of stuff. Are there any, like, day-to-day, anytime you get to start feeling overwhelmed or down or melancholy or, myself, I've overcome a lot of, back when I was having suicidal thoughts, I was on a lot of antidepressants and sleep aids and all the things, right? I still, that was back in 2008, 2011, 12-ish, I've overcome so much of that, and I haven't been on any medications, but I still get in situations where I'm like, okay, I get down. I don't have a great outlook, and it's maybe a day, and I go to sleep, and the next day, thankfully, is better. And so I've been able to go with the ebb and flow and not let it get me really, really down or get me in a panic type situation, or, oh my gosh, I'm getting back into suicidal thoughts, or those kind of things, right? It's just learning how a bad moment or experience doesn't make a bad day or a bad life, those kind of things. So is there anything day-to-day type skills that you employ now, or just a change of perception, or anything that you do to to manage?
Oh yeah, no, I try not to let myself be idle if possible. When I say idle, doom scrolling on your phone is so bad for you. Doom scrolling on YouTube, doom scrolling on Facebook, doom scrolling on any of these applications now. They're designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that's manipulate your dopamine so that you spend as much of your conscious time as possible on them. I got off Facebook, Instagram, and all the other stuff hardcore in 2016, and it has been a blessing ever since. It really did help me because I stopped giving a shit about stuff that doesn't actually matter.
Things that you can't control.
Well, it's all a caricature of what reality actually is. People don't post the
Fear
bad.
porn, so that we can keep everyone.
Not just fear porn, but like I don't see what's really going on in my friends' lives. I see what they're happy about.
The highlight.
Yeah, like, and that does stuff psychologically. We know that does stuff to people.
Yeah.
So I got away from all that. The other thing to me is I really create situations and intimacy with friends and people around me. Interpersonal relationships. Communication is so much more than just speaking, right? And you lose so much of that when you're typing on messages and this and that. Like, there's a place for it, but I think we've relied on it so much as a tool now that
we're so disconnected now,
yes.
and so
so a lot
isolated. And
you know what's funny is I almost didn't come today. I woke up at 9 o'clock. I went to bed at like 1. I got decent sleep, and I woke up at 1. Felt like crap. Hadn't drank because I quit drinking this week a little bit because I'm getting ready to just prepping for powerlifting again, and was thinking of all these excuses in my head of why I shouldn't go. And then I had that moment of like making that choice where it's like I'm gonna go because I should want to go, and I went. It's just like the gym.
Discipline.
Yep.
Making those choices
like,
to better
okay,
yourself.
my brain's trying to tell me I don't want to do this.
Yes.
Now I have to go do it. So I did.
Awesome.
There was some trepidation and nervousness and that, but
That's what inviting Kent did for me.
Yes.
To get my butt down here.
Yes. I know. I've been inviting you all summer long. You
Yeah.
did come one day, and it was
came
wonderful. But today was amazing. Amazing. I'm so glad today worked out.
Really good.
Yeah. We so I started this group for mostly women. I'm all about what's your niche, right? Well, what I know is women and empowering women. You know what I mean? My story can help others, and so and I don't know men. I don't know any. I'm not a man. I don't have that perspective. You know what I mean? So I started that group, and then I started realizing, you know what? I mean, for one, so many of us are single, and let's connect. Even if we don't hit it off and find an intimate relationship, we still have intimate friendships with like-minded people, and we can cultivate that culture, you know, and creating that part of our lives. For me, so we were talking back about at the college about. At some point, I started getting really strategic about how I wanted my life to look, and that was after the coffee shop, because I was sleeping 3 hours a night. I was every aspect of it, and I thought that was what I wanted my life to look like. You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh my gosh, there were so many things that I didn't consider that I want to be able to have that community aspect of it, but I don't want it to be 3 hours of sleep at night. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So how can I create these things and work them into my lifestyle? You know what I mean? And so maybe it's not a way to make money, but it is that part of the community that I really need, and the quality that I really seek. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, my mom always says something that I enjoyed. She said, "Money is money. Money will come, money will go, money's all around. It's just whatever. You can have all the money in the world, not be happy for this. But like, I have found myself. I could go make a bunch of money doing contracting in Iraq. I could go do this. I could go do that. Even with the cybersecurity stuff now I'm doing, when people are like, oh, you can go work for Tinker, and I'm like, I don't care. I would rather hook up old rich people's internet, or go to a school and hook up their cybersecurity stuff. I don't know if you knew this, but like fire entrances and exits at buildings, schools, federal stuff, cybersecurity. So there's all sorts of stuff to do. And me though, I think it's not about the money; it's about having options.
Yes.
Because the more options you have, the better choices you can make. Now, money can help you get there, but like, I worked my butt off for a long time to make money, to do things that it didn't really pay off much. But it's all like, we get back into the failure. Like, if I wouldn't have failed now, I wouldn't have been able to build this business plan within like 2 days.
Knowing exactly.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like that not only did you get through social media, but you kind of simplified your life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, see, and here's a hard thing people don't want to discuss and talk about. And we said it earlier. It's the people you surround yourself with that you're going to be similar to. I had to make some hard choices and cut friends off. Just we're happy with where they're at, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But we're going different places, and I have time, talent, and treasure. You know what I mean? I can only focus so much in so many places.
Yeah.
And
you want to make the best of the life that we have here, because it is so short and so precious. And gosh, you've seen how precious, you know? And I think that it's that perspective that I think really helps people focus on the right things.
Yeah, well, they're the.
If you can heal through it, because
yeah.
there is a lot of focusing on that experience first.
So there's a neat thing I
always ponder about, and it's the will to live, right?
and you hear stories of like the babies that go through, that walk like 8 miles through cold weather and shit to get help or something like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Those kids have that will to live. Often hikers or older people or other younger people that got lost in the woods and end up dying. I feel like it's because they got to a point where
They were
they're in that moment of vulnerableness and they gave up because they didn't see
a way
a
out.
hour. They didn't see the light through the trees or anything like that. I have found myself in that position so many times in my life right now that, like, whenever I meet someone else, I don't remember who did it, but she's a psychologist just talks about find someone in the difference between sympathy and empathy. And that sympathy is when somebody walks by and looks down in the hole and goes, "Oh, dang, you're down in that hole. That looks rough." Well, shoot, I don't want to get down in there with you, but I hope you get out anyway.
I'll pray for you.
Yeah, I'll pray for you. Hopes and prayers, whatever, likes and this and that. And then there's people like me who have been down there and come along and like, "Oh shit, that sucks.
Let me
You want
help
some
you out,
help?"
man.
Because if you want some help, I got you. And they're like, "Yeah, come on." And then I jump down in there and I'm like, cool.
This is
How we get out,
Yes.
right? And I think more people need to be willing to put themselves out there and do that. I, for a long time, was scared to put myself out because I learned a long time ago, and it's that if you will bring the type of attention to yourself the more you put out there, whether it's good or bad, it's just going to happen.
Yes.
And you have to be willing to do that, right? Because the state of most things is in the universe is darkness, so it's up to us to maintain that little flame and keep that fire going.
Well, and that's regardless of the adversity.
Yes.
And that's also regardless of your fan club. Like, when you're inspired, you stay focused on that, and you look absolutely nutty to
Yes.
everyone around you.
Yes.
And you're swimming upstream.
Yes.
But the payoff, if you just follow the inspiration and allow God to just let it all unfold before you, it's just incredible.
So I enjoy talking about that, what you said, that being inspired and being like that. Like, I was speaking with someone one day, and they were saying, like, "Oh, I don't understand how someone could do something like a math work." And I was like, "What do you mean you don't understand? Have you never not been inspired by something to where you're like, this is what I'm going to do?"
Yeah.
Right? Sadly, that's what happened with these people. Something sparked that in them, and they felt, this is what I need to do. So yeah, no, I don't know why I was going with that, but I apologize.
No, it's all good. So let's talk about your message to young people, young men, young women, but anyone considering going into the service. I know growing up, that was, I came from a family of military. My dad, my uncles, my cousins, my brother-in-laws, everyone was military, and I didn't want to go to college. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't think that I was good enough, smart enough to go to college. I didn't think that I was good enough as an athlete to earn a scholarship, so it was not on my radar. And I had verbally committed to the Marines. They were coming out, watching me play and everything, and I was going, and then I ended up with a full ride softball scholarship, and my parents encouraged me to do that, and I'm glad that they did, but I ended up having surgery and metal in my shoulder, and so I didn't pursue my military career after I went to college. But I have a lot more information nowadays that I didn't have then, and I'm often looked at as a liberal because I'm kind of very out there and crazy to people, right? But I'm very, very conservative in my views, my tradition, my morals, all of this stuff. And I do, I'm very patriotic, and I'm very, I guess, I think everyone should have to join the Peace Corps at the very minimum. You know what I mean? I think that would be awesome if we did that as a country. I think it would be incredible. However, it's really hard for me to really encourage someone to take those steps these days, because it is, to me, such a scary environment. There's so much unknown. There's so much, I feel like, malicious things that are going on behind the scenes. I mean, you know, the medical industry and war are the biggest money makers that there are. And I'm sorry, but I believe that there are ill intentions, you know, in both industries. So that's kind of my perspective. Now, I feel like we need good people in there so that we can change it, right? But what's your perspective?
I don't know. It was rough for me because the military, when I was in, was a very different military than it is now. Like I said, we got into that before about like the hazing and stuff a little bit. Like, they really pushed for you to be the best that you could be, but to work together. So in basic training, the drill sergeants would put you against each other, but so you would all work together. And then you would all figure out who's not going to be able to keep up.
Right. Who
Whether
are we
it's
going to have to mentor?
Who do we have? Well, not even mentor, because sadly, you don't have time.
Yeah. Especially not more.
And this is the thing people need to realize, right? Sometimes you're going to have to cut those hard people out of your life. When I say hard people, I mean like family,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Family, that's the hardest thing to rip out of your
life, because
toxicness spreads, right? The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are communication issues that ruin all relationships, and I see them so often now, it bugs the shit out of me.
But
There's nothing we can do about it other than, it's like my friend, I told you, who said Bashar, he likes Bashar. He is so angry
right now because he wants to
wake everyone up, and the world's
so bad.
all this horrible shit's happening, and my parents won't listen to me, everything's bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, it's not your job to save everybody.
Right.
It's not your job to save everybody.
Sure,
You
that's your
cannot.
job to lead by example. And that's it.
Exactly. I said the only thing you could do, dude,
Only thing you
is
can
just
control.
focus on you, and that's it. Everything else, it doesn't matter. Because you know what, my mom, when I went vegan, my mom was like, whatever, right? Her and my brother, me and my fiance were like, we're doing our own Thanksgiving, right? We want to do a vegan one. We're doing our own. If you guys want to come, please join us. And they did. My mom afterwards told my brother, hey, we're going to go, and we'll just eat a little bit to make him happy, and then we'll go to Chinese. They ate all our food and took plates home. I made made mushroom Wellington. Yeah, no, it worked out well, but that got my mom thinking.
And she
realized after that thing with Karma, where Karma ate,
salad was like, ew. You know,
it's like, Mom, whatever. So now she's gone.
She has
She's
gone
gone
down that rabbit hole like
I have. She hates Monsanto. She works with local farmers. She buys what are they called? The
non-GMO seeds.
Heirloom.
Yeah, heirloom.
Yeah, all heirloom stuff. I'm proud of her. She's
Doing really well with that.
That's awesome.
yeah.
It's great, you know. Well, like we were talking earlier with Kent, he's of the baby boomer generation. He's my dad's age. He's a little bit older than it, actually. So he's 68, and he said it himself. That generation was very indoctrinated in so many different facets of life, and it's so hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I mean, unless they really, really want to, unless you have some kind of an awakening that forces you into it, or you just all of a sudden, you know, decide. It's really, really hard to.
I think that's all generations, to be honest.
It is.
I do.
But I really feel like maybe it's because I'm around them more. I'm not sure.
To be able to
really make that choice, right?
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I don't have to wait until I'm 68. I've been on this awakening journey of self-discovery and
widen our perspective at 68.
analyzation.
Maybe it'll be like his.
Yeah.
Unwilling to change.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But
I
don't
see
think
it.
so.
I see it with the
I
older
don't
stuff.
see it that way.
My granny, my granddad, and some of them, I try to talk
Well,
to them
no, that's
about
not
some
true
stuff.
because I'm already, I'm unwilling to change where I am now. I feel like I've gotten to a place that has really brought me a lot of peace and a lot of love and joy.
See, and that's where I really like to get into the nitty-gritty of life, and it's that you can't be complacent. Peace is fine, but like if you don't constantly put yourself under pressure, like I said before, right?
Yeah.
When the catastrophe comes, and there'll always be something, you're not going to be prepared for
They
it.
say literally lifting weights is good for your bones.
Yes.
It literally
Yeah.
makes your bones healthier.
Yeah, there are people that are in their 80s right now that are powerlifting competitively. It blows. I love it. And whenever I see those videos, I'm like, that'll be me. I'll be the 80-year-old dude deadlifting.
Right. I love that because, so I was telling you earlier about my inspiration to do this. Eventually, my initial inspiration was to do an in-person clinic, right, in a local, small-town, tri-city kind of community, start with my hometown, and do walk them through a whole workout plan that they can do at home that is injury prevention, teaching them proper body mechanics, these kind of things, inspiring their minds, helping them, overcome adversity, leadership, empowering them to feed themselves properly as athletes and understanding
micronutrients.
Yes,
Hell yeah.
all of that stuff. Because for one, I was a very competitive athlete, but we were back in the age where, for one, we were poor. We ate spaghetti every day because, you know what I mean? Yeah.
But we were also lucky enough to have that metabolism in the youth.
Yes, because we were so active and stuff, whereas kids are not nowadays. They show up to their sport and that's it. So I really want to help empower and cultivate that drive, that competitiveness, but that discipline, that self-discipline, that self-motivation to when you're not motivated, you're still disciplined.
That's where I've really enjoyed powerlifting. And it's funny because, like, to be quite honest, before I got into it, I thought it was the dumbest shit in the world. I made fun of lifters. I thought it wasn't my cup of tea. I would rather run or do some other push-ups. I don't know. I was just
basically being ignorant of
new things.
And then it's like I said, I watched this
guy. As funny as it is, I'm going to say this, I don't care. There's a guy on Twitch TV called All Tyler 1. I've been watching it for a long time, and he ended up doing a competition with a bunch of other streamers on Twitch, and they did a powerlifting competition, and everybody was encouraging each other so much and being so positive. It reminded me of being in the Army again.
Yes.
Being around a bunch of people that are like, because here's the thing, I don't care what anybody says, like, yeah, you can go work out on your own. This is a perfect example. I talk to people about confession a lot, and sometimes they're like, oh, Catholics in confession. I'm like, look, it's one thing to pray for forgiveness, it's another thing to have to do it, right? Same thing with powerlifting, right? You can go work out on your own, but when somebody else is there to help you stay accountable, you get so much more out of it. So much more out of it.
Yeah.
So I from that, I found a place, started working out, and it's been off to the races since. I've really excited about powerlifting because I realized it's an easy, healthy way for me to stay in shape. When I say easy and healthy, you can honestly do a 30-minute workout and continue to gain strength.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that's why the CrossFit things are so appealing. Well, and also because of the camaraderie and not for everyone. I get it.
The only problem I have with CrossFit is they don't teach technique.
Yes.
Effectively.
Exactly.
And other than that, man, it was great because basically that's what we did in the Army, really.
Yeah.
PT,
yeah.
So it was fun.
No, I love that. I mean, one of the things about that clinic that I want to do, which right now I've just decided to put everything online and really focus there, but I want to be able to introduce them to so many different facets of the sports industry, not just being a pro athlete or being a college athlete, or you're using powerlifting in your everyday life, and you're focusing on the mechanics and proper, to avoid injury, and you doing it the proper way and using it as a healthy outlet for any type of frustrations or PTSD or any of those kinds of things as well. Is there we've talked about PTSD. Do you have like socially type things that you have to battle?
Yeah, I don't, like I arrived to that other coffee house like 15 minutes early before 10. I pretty much always show up early to scout stuff out, you know what I mean? Like,
wow, well, thank you
what's
so
up.
much for pushing through that. I mean, I know how difficult that can be, and not wanting to be here today too, and having to overcome that as well, and rush to get,
Yeah, because it's not like I don't want to be here, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I do.
Yeah. So.
Every weekend I go through the same thing. I'm like, oh man, I wake up on Saturday morning. I'm like, I really would like to sleep in.
Even as funny as it is, the podcast that I do for this other company, we're doing our thing. It was the same thing at first. When I joined on the writing team, every Friday at 2 we meet, and I dreaded it for a hot minute, and then I don't know where it was. Recently, it kind of started getting motivated again, I guess. I go through,
Same.
troughs and
I mean, that's why
geeks,
I started the podcast in 2020. I got 3 episodes in, and life took over.
Yep.
And I wasn't inspired to devote time to that anymore. You know what I mean? And so here I am getting back into it this August, or I guess September 10th. Actually, it was Suicide Awareness Day that we started it back, and it was totally unplanned. It was my brother and I were like, you know what, we need to get back into our talks, and so went over and we went out to the back of his 7 acres and just started in. And I said, you know what, today is Suicide Awareness Day. We need to start there. We need to bring awareness to that, and then the next episode to just become, talking about how he manages day to day, and what he's implemented into his lifestyle so that he can manage and overcome, and combat veteran also, and many horrific stories and things that, and for him, he talks about the struggle is not just, okay, the experience from over there and then coming back to the real world, but realizing the importance, like the severity of how they're poisoning our food, how we really can't get away from poison right now, and how he's trying his best to lead by example for his family and do everything within his power to eliminate all the toxins and all of those things, and how that's swimming upstream. And that is the thing that bothers him the most these days. Is not necessarily all of his past that he's had to deal with and work through, but the adversity on a day-to-day basis to maintain that balance of doing the best that you can and living in society and not being overly paranoid about everything that's going on around us, and just staying focused on the real. And the last episode that we did was balancing duty and purpose. And how he is capable of so many things and interested in so many things and able to make money in so many different ways, and he'd like to make more money for the family to have extra things to do. Right now all their ends are met, but he's able to focus on really being a great father and putting all of his energy into that. And to me, that is the most important thing to do right now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's him balancing that duty and purpose. And
No, I like that. I do feel like there's a duty to society that you have to fulfill in a way. Like, it's kind of why I joined the Army. I realized, like, hey, dang, I can, like, at least do something and then maybe get some shit figured out. Of course, I still don't have anything figured out, but it is what it is,
I mean, do we ever really? It's always changing.
Speaking of kids and joining the Army and all this stuff, there's a guy at Oklahoma City Community College, a young cat who had worked at the gym as I've been going there for the last year and a half or 2 years now, and he is joining the Army, or he's joining the Air Force. He's going in as an officer. He's at OU right now. And he enjoys talking to me and getting my perspective, because he realized that he could always ask me a question and pique me, and I'll tell a story. He's like, I love your stories. I want to hear more. But I told him flat out, I told him what's up straight up. Like, hey, look, like, if you're going to go into the military, like, because he had been like, oh, I went out and was partying a little. And I kind of had to be like, hey. Like, I know right now you want to go party and you want to do all the cool kid shit, but right now is the most important time of your life. Eat healthy, right? Eat good, focus on school, get the shit out of the way, get in the Army.
Great job.
Yeah. I tell him, and I tell everybody the same thing. I have a weird thing about telling people to join the military. I'm not going to tell anybody to do it, but if you are going to do it, do something that is going to lead into something else. When I say that, I joined the infantry because I couldn't get what I wanted. I wanted to be an interrogator. They told me I couldn't because I got arrested for pot in high school, and I'd have to get I couldn't get a top secret clearance and all this and that. Then I had to get a waiver to join the military, so I couldn't get what I wanted. And I'd love to do a whole episode on coaching people on how to talk to recruiters, what happens when you go into MEPS, how that works, because what they do is you go through all this stuff, it's your time, then they pull you in a room, there's two dudes, and like, what job do you want?
Right.
And now all of a sudden the pressure's on, like, right? And if you're not used to negotiations, or for instance, like when I was a car salesman, one of the biggest things I always encourage people to do with car salesmen is if you tell them what you want and they don't, immediately say thank you, walk up and leave, show up again a week later, and just continue doing that until they will work with you. That's how I've gotten a lot of jobs that I have always wanted. I email them up, I'm like, hey, you guys hiring? They're like, nope, not right now. I'm like, sweet, I'll check again in a week. I call them in a week, find out where they're at, start showing up and talking to people.
Let
Hey,
them know you're interested.
What's up? How can I get this job?
It's the same thing being an athlete. If
Yes.
you are out there asking your coach, hey man, how can I do better? What did I do wrong? How can I get better? That shows that you're interested.
Yes.
You're at least willing. You're coachable.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what my stepmom said about me in pool.
Okay.
Because she brought me onto her 10-ball team. My stepmom goes to Vegas every year. She is so damn good at pool. It's ridiculous.
What's her name?
Marie Smith. So she brought me onto her team. She used to play with Ken, as funny as it is. So, brought me onto the team. I had no clue what I was doing, and she started teaching me. And then over the years, now I've come along well. And she was telling me that the other day. She's like, I think the biggest thing that made you do so well, and the reason why you're accelerating, is because you are coachable, accept criticism, whether it's good or bad, and you apply yourself. Like for a hot minute there, I was doing 2 hours of pool every day. If I worked out, pool also. Like I had to. Sadly, I haven't been working out as much recently because my other focuses are going on right now with pool and some other things. But I'm soon. Probably next week I'll get back into that. But yeah, no, it's neat. I forgot where I was going. I apologize.
I love that you say that about being able to negotiate and that kind of thing, because
yes.
I seriously, like that would have been such a great skill to have in the career field, world, whatever. I mean, like just being able to negotiate a salary, or even just talk about what you want for salary, or like it's amazing to me looking back on how much I just accepted, even in a job interview or accepting a position, and not actually being choosy. Like, you know what I mean? Like asking the right questions to make sure that I'm going to fit the vibe of the whole place.
We'll do a whole episode about interviewing, because at the so when I worked for that security company, I'll even say it. No, maybe I'll keep the name, whatever. It's a company in Phoenix, Arizona. I was the head supervisor for Scottsdale, and all my guys in the area weren't getting paid enough, and I coached them all how to go talk to the owner and get a raise.
Great.
He pulled me into his office one day and was like, how is it everybody knows how to get a raise? I'm like, because they all deserve to be paid this, and I'm going to do what I got to do to get them paid.
Great. Yes,
right?
we've got to do that.
So here's a big
episode.
Oh, yeah.
Go,
no, I was going to say straight up, here's a big trick, is these companies aren't going to give you a pension and a gold watch when you retire from them, right? Put 20 years in, they're not going to do a damn thing for you, right? So get the experience you need, and then immediately go somewhere else and get more money. I had all these jobs.
Don't feel bad about that.
Oh, no. And when I would interview, and they'd be like, you seem to hop around every year and blah, blah, blah. Why should we hire you? Because that year you're going to get out of me is worth so much more than all these minions you got working for you, right?
Absolutely.
Right? You've not had anybody.
Language.
Give me 90 days with the company, and you will see why it is that you should hire me right now. Because after 90-day period, you can just let me go, and it's not a big deal, right? Sweet. And then, of course, I get into the company, show them exactly what's up. That's what I did with this guy. Got in. He was like, I don't hire outside supervisors. I was at his competition's company. I got a DUI, sadly. I had a breathalyzer, and they were like, well, we're not going to give you supervisor position because we can't trust you. And I said, whatever, cool.
Cool, whatever.
Went to the competition, got hired on the spot.
Right, exactly.
So, no, but be a go-getter. There's a video I saw earlier that said the same thing. The guy was talking to a guy about finance stuff, and the kid's like, how do I get a job? And he's like, watch this. And he picks up the phone, finds a couple of firms, calls them, keeps calling one until somebody answers the phone and is like, hey, I'm with this kid who's looking for a job, blah, 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 blah. What can you do? And the guy's like, sure, here, right now. Hands the guy the phone. The guy walks off, hopefully to get a job. But he tells everybody, he's like, look, anybody that wants something is going to get it, right? You're going to go get it. You're not going to sit by and wait. You're going to go after it. And that's what you have to do if you want something really hardcore.
Absolutely.
Can't sit around and...
Regardless.
Yeah.
You're inspired. You got to do it.
Exactly. That's where I'm at now. Inspired again, so
I love
trying to run with it.
I love it. I love it. This was great, man. I appreciate your time so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime. Let me know next episode.
You pick a date. I'll be there.
Cool. Awesome. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Great day. Appreciate.
I'm excited. My buddy's blowing me up now.